This is Jim McKelvey, and today I am here with my business partner, Doug Auer. Um, and I guess Doug and I have been in business together for 20 years. We've opened a glass blowing studio together. That turned into an event space. That grew into a bunch of other businesses. We now have a maker space, and we are in the process of trying to help revitalize a certain part of St. Louis that is kind of rough. And we've been building buildings and fixing houses and doing everything we can. So Doug has been a fantastic resource for me over the years, and I wanted to introduce him to the world and also take a moment to ask him some basic questions about what it's like running a small business, especially a small business that's got hourly employees, that's got artists, that's got folks who are really confused and scared. Every month when I meet with the Fed, I give a report on the sales of our glass studio and the activity at the glass studio, and I always preface this sort of jokingly as saying that we sell stuff that nobody needs, and that usually gets a laugh, but I don't think it's getting a laugh anymore because what Third Degree makes is we make art, we make stuff. I got some of my own stuff down here. There, that's something I made at the studio. Nobody needs this. This is completely useless. I mean, I guess you could fill it with Purell, but really, it's not terribly helpful to be an artist or somebody these days when everyone's panicked because art is one of the first things you stop buying. So I'd like to have a little conversation just about what it's like and what we're thinking. Not that we've got a bunch of answers, but maybe it would help people to meet one of the people that I use as a reference for good judgment and good behavior, especially in uncertain times. And I would say this is probably not the most uncertain time we've faced, because when we were starting the business, I think it was way worse. But these days, I think it's probably a pretty close second. So, Doug, why don't you tell a million random strengers who you are, what you do, and what Third Degree is?
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, thanks for the intro. That's appreciate the compliments, obviously. So, the last few days have been anything but easy, right? Like uncertainty, definitely the highlight of pretty much every morning. But I would say today I feel a lot better than I did just a few days ago. So I've got 21 employees here at Third Degree, another 6 at Made, which is the maker space, and another 6 that do some general construction work for the redevelopments. And yeah, as we've kind of quickly ended up in this situation, there's been nothing but questions, right? And most of those I didn't have an answer to. But what I've always found, to be my duty is to take responsibility in these situations. So all I could do is start trying to gather the information, whether it's the Families First Coronavirus Response Act that was signed in last week, or getting in touch with the Missouri Unemployment Office to figure out what our options actually are. These are all things that I have no experience with, that most people have no experience with, obviously. There was no Families First Act until a week ago. So yeah, that was step one, was just gathering information, not just from the sources that you can find online, but from my counterparts in the business world. I'm fortunate to have connections with a bunch of people that are in similar situations, although frankly, a lot of them have employees that can work from home. They have IT professionals that can do their work and keep going, whereas most of my people have to be on site. They have to be physically present. And as you said, Jim, we're selling stuff people don't need.
Yeah.
That's for Third Degree, at least for the glass studio, that's a huge part of the problem. Before we were even mandated to stay home, all of our events got canceled. You know, two months worth of private events. That's 40 events, I think, were on the books. We're talking about significant sources of revenue that pay all these people's salaries and
So,
hourly wages.
so basically, you've got no money to pay the people from business operations.
Yeah, I mean, we have what we saved, right? So
Yeah.
fortunately, we don't just blow it all and throw it out the door, but you know, we've got enough to get us through a small hiccup. Like,
How many months do you have in the bank? Like if you had to just shut down operations and keep paying everybody, when
oh,
do you run out?
less than a month, two pay periods,
So
honestly.
you,
So a month,
so you got a month in the bank of
I think
cash.
so.
And
Yeah,
after that, basically no lines of credit because nobody knows how to loan money to a business as weird as ours. At
yeah,
least not anybody who, give us good terms.
yeah. Well,
Um,
and yeah, and even those two pay periods, that's assuming we don't pay anyone for you know, all the other expenses. You know, the bills still come in, right? Like, and now we have all these event clients whose events were canceled. They want their money back. If I were
sure.
to pay back the deposits, we would be out of money next week. So it's not practical. Obviously, it's not. It's just not feasible to just send the money out the door.
So let's consider two extremes here. One is you just shut the place down and go into hopefully some sort of stasis. I have some friends who are in the hotel business, and they're doing that. They just they run a little hotel, and they're like, nobody's going to stay in our hotel, so we're going to shut the whole thing down,
Yeah.
just close it, padlock on the door. Hope we can rehire the staff later. The other sort of extreme would be keep it open in the sense that you're paying everybody, you're running everything you can, even though there are no customers there, because effectively a meeting place is by definition not a place you want to be during a lockdown.
Yeah.
So between those two extremes, where are you targeting, and how do you think about those two
Absolutely.
options?
So yeah, I mean, we have no choice but to close the doors publicly. There are no customers. They're legally not even allowed to be here at this point. We've got what 3.5 weeks of stay-at-home order here in St. Louis. So even if we wanted to be here and we were legally able to, we'd have no customers. So in the last few days, I've done my homework and I've got a plan. So I spent most of my morning today talking to, I think I got to 28 of the employees so far, one-on-one conversations, telling them our plan. And I'll just outline it because it's actually quite simple now that I've put it together.
Yeah, so
Think,
I'd love to hear it.
yeah,
That's
so thanks to the act, and because of the stay-at-home order, we are now mandated to not be at work, and we are a non-essential business, so we can't work. So all of those employees are now, as far as I can tell, eligible for 2 weeks. I'm sorry, correction, 80 hours, which for a full-time employee would be 2 weeks
okay.
of paid sick leave. So we're going to go ahead and implement that starting Monday for everybody. Um, that's step one. What we're being told is that the company will eventually be reimbursed for that. It sounds like through, you know, not having to pay withholding taxes, Social Security moving forward. So we'll be credited back. That's good news. The bad news there is you still have to have the cash. So for businesses that don't have cash on hand, that may not help at all. Whoops, excuse me. Um, you know, we can do that. We can pay those 2 weeks. Um, and then, you know, hopefully the system will work and we'll get reimbursed at some point. So that takes care of 2 weeks, but then we still have at least another 2 weeks of mandated stay at home
Yeah.
that it doesn't cover. So next step, as far as we can tell, is what's called a mass claim for unemployment in the state of Missouri. So that's also relatively simple. And to my surprise and delight, the state responded really quickly, sent me some forms and gave me all the nuts and bolts that I need to file.
So at least the state of Missouri is semi-functional.
I mean, yeah. So yeah, I sent one email. I got an email back.
I know that, like,
That's pretty good.
because state governments are not, no, some of them are notoriously flaky, and ours has good periods and bad periods. It sounds like they're on it. So
Yeah,
that's
I
good.
was really grateful. I thank those folks for being so prompt. And, I asked a few follow-up questions. Haven't gotten all those answers yet, but I can only imagine the amount of work that they have to do. I mean, this is
Yeah.
obviously unprecedented, and they are going to have a ton of people to take care of. So,
Okay. But not so bad.
no, well, assuming it gets approved, right? So at this point, all we can do is apply, and if they approve, as I understand it, it's pretty simple. We get 8 weeks that we can apply for. This is different than normal unemployment because we're applying as an employer, not as an employee, and we are doing what's called a recall date because we expect all these people to come back. And for our business, which is highly specialized, we want them to come back. Like it's not gonna whatever the duration of this is, we don't want to be in a position where we're having to find replacements for people. We
Yeah.
don't.
So
Yeah.
let me brag on you for just a minute.
Mm.
Doug has spent the last several years establishing one of the best event management staffs I think I've ever met. I mean, these people are, because we've been in the event business for 15 of our 20 years, effectively. And over that time, I've watched Doug sort of constantly ratchet up the caliber of the team. And this is both by hiring better people and also by training and working with the people that he's got and making them better. So we both invest in people directly, and then we have been slowly, sort of upping our game. So to lose that team would be tragic, especially if the rebound is significant. So, for instance, if you imagine this like Iceland, okay, Iceland, if you've ever been there, like they're kind of shut half the year, because it's dark and there's not much to do. So when the sun finally comes up, they party their faces off. So we may have this sort of Iceland-like rebound where everybody is going stir crazy, and then all of a sudden Doug is sitting on a couple of event venues, and you absolutely need to have your staff.
Yes,
Yeah,
and that is exactly the outcome that we are hoping for. Obviously, we
yeah, we
don't
want
know,
a big
but
party at some point in the future. Actually,
yeah,
many big parties at
yeah,
some point in the future. Yeah,
we want to be ready.
yeah,
And so, yeah, my job right now is encouraging all of the staff that we're going to do what we can to be here for them, but at the same time, trying to be responsible and utilize the systems that our country is trying to put in place for all small businesses. And
how scared are you? I mean,
uh,
how freaked
today,
out are you?
I would say less today than I was yesterday. Right? It's been exponentially
Can I
less
tell them
scared.
how you felt yesterday?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Tell them.
Doug was crying.
Yeah.
Doug and I were on a phone call, and we were both like, I was on the edge of tears. I think it wasn't a video call, so I can't swear,
Yeah.
but this is what happens when you're responsible for people. If you're truly responsible for people, you don't sleep sometimes because you want answers. People look to you for answers. You don't have the answers. You know no way to get the answers, and yet that responsibility chain still comes. Like you talk to 20 plus people individually today.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
28, I think. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Explain and basically just explain what we were just talking about.
yeah,
These are the steps as we know them today. They could
yeah.
change tomorrow. They could change this afternoon. A few folks were like, "Oh, I heard there's some other act they're trying to sign that will extend the paid sick leave." Great. Like if that happens, and we need to take advantage of it, we will. But ultimately, people want to work. I think that's
Yeah.
the key is that people don't want to not work, or at least
And
my people don't. Yeah.
yeah, and I need to explain the word unemployment because that really freaks some people out.
Yep.
Um, and Doug, why don't you tell them how you explained unemployment, and then I'll tell them what the Fed said about it because
Yeah.
I have,
Well,
I've got some insight on the Federal Reserve, what they're doing.
and I would say that my explanation that was really based on our conversation, and that is, as we understand it, this system is the best mechanism we have in place to keep people financially stable as we figure this out, right? Like the country doesn't have something in place to deal with this. It's
Yeah,
not there. the idea of sending a check out to everyone for $1,000, while that sounds great, it's pretty irresponsible, and it's in my opinion not appropriate. I'll take the check, but the unemployment system, they have the ability to go back. They have the ability to see what people had been getting paid, and pay them accordingly, and proportionally. And us as the employers then have the responsibility of treating that correctly and reporting it. We have been reporting it, right? That's the beauty of that system, is that the record gets filed repeatedly. It's legitimate, and you have to be able to back it up. So it makes sense. So yeah, that mechanism is, at this point, seems to be the best way to do it.
Yeah, but the thing that was weird was that some of our employees really freaked out when we used the word unemployment.
You're right.
Because so what we did, Doug and I had a meeting before this week, and we discussed the strategy. And Third Degree is sort of in a fortunate position, because I've agreed to partially backstop, the company, and I'm in a position where I can kind of do that. So we agreed that no matter what happened, we would issue this sort of backstop to make people feel comfortable, and we're sort of that's a luxury that I think almost all businesses don't have. So everybody, there must have been some meeting, because I got probably 20 thank you emails in the course of 3 hours from everybody at the studio, and the end result of that was we had some people that were feeling kind of comfortable. But then the government came out with this plan. And the plan was to use the unemployment rails as a method of paying people. And I had a conversation with Jim Bullard, who's the president of the St. Louis Fed, about this. And what Jim explained was that the mechanism that the government has to distribute money is the unemployment system. And that's sort of a perfect system, because it gets the money into the hands of the people who are being most hurt. So an income tax refund and all this other stuff, like, it's just not effective, and mailing people checks doesn't work. So so you have to use the unemployment system. Well, as soon as we used the word unemployment, as soon as we said the word unemployment, everybody started freaking out again. So it was almost like we had to redo all the messaging that we'd done before,
Yep.
with just that one word.
Yep.
So, to other employers out there, you will probably have to use the unemployment system, because that's the way we're doing it. But watch your use of the term. And when you say it, you better have a sentence ready immediately after that. What we're calling unemployment, but it's not really if you're planning to keep your staff, you better let them know, because people are rightfully panicked about this stuff.
Yep. And that's exactly why I had those conversations today. You can put it in an email. It's not the same. So
Yeah.
I said basically the same thing to every person so far. I've got a handful left to go. And I would say the response has been overwhelmingly positive, right? And people are grateful, and I think they get it. And assuming that my interpretation of how these systems are going to work is correct, it feels, I don't want to say comfortable, but it feels comforting to think that this might actually, help us get through this.
So, Doug, you've got a particularly fantastic skill at working in uncertainty. So this is one of the things that I've always admired about you, and it actually makes it fun, because Doug and I opened a glass studio where there had been no glass studios, and then we didn't open what was at the time a normal studio. So when Doug and I opened in 2000 or 2001, the sort of prototypical model for two guys opening a glass studio is they'd build a furnace and they'd start blowing glass and sell the stuff. Doug and I decided that wasn't going to work, because St. Louis didn't have a glass culture. We had no, we would have been the only two people in town. And as a result, we decided to open a school. Well, it turns out there were no models for glassblowing schools. And there were certainly no models for glassblowing schools in urban areas, which, we were in sort of this nasty building downtown. And so we ended up doing something where we basically had to make up every step that we were doing. I mean, we didn't know how to teach classes. We had to figure out how to teach a glassblowing class. We had to figure out how to do waivers for glassblowing classes. We had to figure out how to hire instructors. Like, we had to figure everything out. And Doug's always been very good at going into a situation where there is no model to copy, and yet you got to do something anyway. So when you open the makerspace on Del Mar, you got a bunch of machine tools. You had no business model.
Well, not a working one, right?
Not a working one, right?
That was the whole point. Was the one.
Yeah,
was,
we had one business model that we knew failed. That's
Correct.
why we got all the equipment,
Correct.
right? Tech shop failed. So all we knew was that we couldn't do it their way. But
so it seems, yeah.
Yeah, you seemed comfortable, almost excited by the fact that you have to solve problems that other people have not solved before. How do you put yourself in that mindset, and how do you maintain that energy in that situation?
I mean, I guess it's a good question. Like, I can't say I think about how I put myself in the mindset. It is my mindset, so
okay. Tell us about your childhood, Doug.
Yeah, well, problem solving definitely is key, maybe to a fault. I tend to try to solve too many problems for people around me sometimes, is what I'm told. So yeah, third degree, what you said is basically true. There were other glass studios, right? Like, there are people teaching, there were things, but this is 2002, the internet is young, definitely less information out there. You could find some stuff, you could ask people questions, but it's not like there was a franchise, there was not a manual to read, there was not a book on how to do it. Lots of people doing it. I think we're still pretty unique in the way we ended up. People come in, as all the time, and like tell us how smart we were to have a glass studio with an event business. But you and I both know that was not. We didn't have a 100-page business plan. We had one simple motivation. That was, both of us wanted to make stuff out of glass, and neither of us thought we could pay the bills by selling what we were making, because we had other things either we were good at or wanted to do. And didn't trust that we were, going to be famous glass artists, right? Like,
yeah.
That's fair to say. So yeah, tuition paid the bills. That's what the story we still tell people today. The rest of it became sort of, what it is today is this beautiful symbiotic relationship between a community of glass artists that we've helped build by teaching them, an outlet to sell the work they make in a retail gallery, and then this event space that brings hundreds of people in every weekend, or if not every day, and exposes them to.
But did you figure that out in advance, or did you sort of stumble into it?
I would like to say in advance, but no, right?
We stumbled into it.
Yeah, my childhood or my college dream was like glass studio with a brew pub attached. Like, that now seems like not such a great idea at all. We have a,
you got a bar attached.
We got a bar that opens when people pay for it.
Yeah.
But it's not a bar that you run every day, and that's a big difference.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, it is about solving the problem, and more than anything, it's about, I guess, this innate sense of responsibility that I have, right? It's always, I'm not interested in someone telling me how to do it. Responsibility is not something you're given, it's something you take, right? Like, that's something I live by. I never expected you to give me the responsibility. I think you could attest to that. Like, I just took it.
Yeah.
Your directives to me on literally like day one was like, here's a set of keys and a checkbook. There's X number of dollars, build the glass equipment. I'll see you next time I'm in town. And I think I remember looking behind me, like, wait, me? And then I didn't start complaining, and I didn't call you to, well, I think I did. I called you a few times, like, hey, can I buy this tool? And your next response was something to the effect of like, yeah, will you just do it? Like, I don't have time to decide if you want to drill or not. Go buy the drill. And I was like, oh, so that's how this works. And, people ask me all the time, like, how's it like working with Jim? And I said, well, I don't really work with him much. Like he, we have some high level conversations. We share some vision. Uh, we're oddly on the same page a lot, but
Yeah,
for the most part, uh, I work independently, and we check in, and there's a lot of trust,
yeah.
and that's what's special, right? Like that's what's kind of undefinable in our relationship. But for me personally, yeah, I don't know if you can teach someone how to take responsibility. You can explain that to them, but they have to get it.
So I know the makerspace is building is making medical equipment now. You've got
Yeah, face
all
shields.
these tools, and we're actually using our 3D printers to print face shields, and then we're using
Yeah,
our laser cutters to cut the plastic.
yeah,
And tell me how that came together. And
yeah.
that seems like that sounds like a super positive thing to do
Yeah,
uh, in this situation.
yeah.
Is
So
that how did that happen?
great question. So truth be told, I guess I probably feel a little bit more like you in that situation, in the sense that uh, I've got people at that organization that took it upon themselves to figure that out. They took the responsibility. The way it came to me was, "Hey, Doug, we have this opportunity. Can we use the machines?" And I said, "Sure." And they
Yeah,
said, "We're not worried about getting paid. We just want to help out. So as long as you're cool with us, getting this done, we're going to do it." And I said, "Great." And this is in the last 4 days, right? So my head is in employees, how to manage them, how to keep people financially stable. I definitely wasn't over there helping them figure out how to make these face shields. And to their credit, they're doing it. My involvement has been to say yes, to trust that they're going to do the right thing, and help spread the word and help send the GoFundMe link out to people I know, because that is it's a grassroots effort to help the healthcare industry today.
yeah. So we're using our we got $1 million worth of tools sitting across the street, and some of them are running right now, making
Yeah,
medical equipment.
absolutely. And
Yeah,
they're
and
the first goal is 300 of these face shields by the end of the week, and I think they're going to hit it.
yeah. Any chance we could laser cut a respirator,
I think, yeah, there's plans out there for some 3D printed
ventilators?
N95s, as they're called. I don't think we've gotten into that yet. The face shields were the first and kind of
Okay,
logical step. But if this continues and the need's there, my guess is we'll start to see other opportunities like that for us to help.
okay, that's cool. But your
Yeah.
staff came up with that. Your team came
Yeah,
up with
it's
that
not me.
independently.
I can't take any of the credit for that. It's people that I think are behaving in an entrepreneurial way, uh, but not in the sense of making money, right? This is about
Yeah, it's
taking
about
care
helping.
of each other. Yeah.
All right. Any final words for folks who are out there running businesses and terrified?
Oh
Because
God. I would say the first step is to take a deep breath, right? And if you've made it this far in your business, you know it takes a lot of hard work, and you got to do your homework. So there are a lot of resources out there. It is hard to find the information. So connect with other people that are in the same boat. My guess is they have an attorney or an accounting firm that's got some resources and some knowledge that they can share. Frankly, for me, that's what happened. I got a lot of emails from other business owners, and they were all getting information from their support staff, and combing through that either individually or as a team, start to put the pieces together. So
okay,
do the
so
work.
I'm gonna ask one more question because I know it's going to show up in the comments if we ever post this thing online,
Hmm.
and that is, it's easy for you having a rich business partner. I don't believe that you're really able to do this. I just McKelvey's checkbook. Tell them about McKelvey's checkbook.
Yeah. Well, so look, that is a real perception. It's a reality, right? And it's a real challenge. And that's a day-to-day thing. It's not even, crisis aside. There's a perception of, this pot of money that you can just do what you want with, and that's not how this works. Third Degree is a self-sustaining business that has been for many years. Made is doing its best to stay.
And just for the record, Third Degree pays me money.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I mean, like,
yeah, yeah,
let this get clear. The money flows from,
yeah. Jim has never stopped asking for his rent check, and I never expect him to. So, Mate is trying to become profitable, and oh, Jim, you're frozen. Am I alive?
your
Okay.
face is contorted horribly. It looks like you've got the coronavirus and it struck in a
All right.
millisecond,
All right.
but
Well,
you're back to it now.
yeah.
And
Same for you.
that's probably my kid going on Netflix.
Could be. Could be.
Yeah. I
So,
can't hear it. That's why I'm wearing this. Like, it muffles the screams from the children. This is
got it.
my parenting headset.
Got it. So yeah, I mean, the reality of the situation is this: as you said earlier, you are a backstop, but for me, I treat all the businesses as if they are financially independent and that they need to be viable. Everything's got to pencil out, and that's really important. We're not running a bunch of charities. We're trying to run successful businesses that can support the teams that run them, and that's hugely important to me on a personal level. And it becomes really uncomfortable because there is this perception of like, hey, you can just pay me more, right? Or hey, we're going to be okay because Jim's got a bunch of money, so it'll be fine. And the answer is, well, maybe. It's not about handouts, and
Yeah.
it would be irresponsible to think that way. It would be irresponsible to just send the money out the door and hope that this all works out. So step one for us is to take take stock and figure out the responsible steps forward. We do want to come out ahead, and we do hope that when this is over, because it will be over, that we are ready to take care of all the people that want to have a great time and go back to the things they don't need. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds great.
yeah.
Any last words for folks out there running
No, keep
business?
your head up.
All right. Great.
Yeah. Thanks,
That's
buddy.
Doug Auer.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Doug.